Hello and welcome to week 5. You are already at the halfway point, which hopefully feels like it's flying by, and hopefully you're not sitting back thinking that it's dragging on forever. So we only have 5 weeks left to go, and they're absolutely going to fly by, just like summer is at this point. So for this week, you're going to be looking at chapter 5, which is about direct guidance strategies. So last week you looked at indirect strategies, really focusing on how things in the physical environment can play a role in how children behave. So in this chapter, you're actually going to see some direct guidance strategies, which means they really are hands-on. It's what you as a teacher should be doing to help children. I will tell you that I think one of my favorite strategies that's in this chapter is the one on redirection. So this is where you can actually use children's short attention span to your advantage. So one of the greatest examples I can think of to help with this is that think of a toddler who is heading towards an electrical socket. Well, as a teacher or as a parent or a caregiver, we can actually, as we see a child starting to do that, we can just walk over to them and kind of guide them in a different direction. And so we're showing them that here's blocks they can play with, here's a book they can look at. And so that is a really easy way to avoid some kind of behavior that could be really harmful to a child. So the child doesn't even recognize that you were actually steering them away from something else. They just think that you're taking them to something more fun. So this is a really practical chapter for you. Hopefully you're going to find some strategies in there that are really going to speak to you. What I will tell you is that you really have to look at the strategies and look at your own personality to see what's going to work for you. For some people, they may find that certain strategies just really don't fit with their personality. And the worst thing we can do is be just genuine with children. We need to be honest about who we are, and children know if we're faking it. So really look at these strategies and see. I would suggest just choosing one and practicing with that one and seeing how it kind of works. But again, this is one of my favorite chapters, as well as chapter 4. And if I'm honest, I actually like all of the chapters in the book. They're not long, they're really kind of easy to get through, and again, very, very practical. When the author updated this edition, she did a much better job of making it readable and applicable to children. So for this week, you're going to be reading that chapter, and you're going to start working on your next assignment, which is called a short paper. And when I say short paper, I really do mean short paper. It probably is not going to be any longer than 2 pages. But the importance of this particular assignment is really kind of focusing on everything that you've looked at so far in the book, as well as the additional resources, and really kind of looking through and seeing how important is it that we have those warm personal interactions with children. So when you look at this week's folder, you're going to see the assignment. It's down here called Short Paper Interactions. And so you're going to see I've given you the rubric, I've given you a template, which hopefully will kind of help guide you through it. And then there are 3 PowerPoints that you need to look at before you start writing the paper. Pretty much these PowerPoints, along with the chapters in your book, are going to provide all the information you need to be able to answer the questions for this particular paper. So there's 3 different parts to it. The first one, you're really just talking about the importance of having those warm personal interactions with children. In the second one, you're actually looking at a particular scenario. And while this is fictitious, it is probably something that happens in a lot of centers where directors are saying it's not important to have that warm relationship with children. It's more important that we make them follow the rules. And so basically what you're going to be doing is kind of coming up with your argument to what you would say if a director were to say that to you. And then the last part is just simply a summary. So again, this is probably not going to be any longer than 2 pages, and you do not need to go find any additional information because everything you're going to need are in these 3 PowerPoints as well as what you've read so far in the chapter. So because you have this assignment for this week, you don't have any discussion board. So as long as you log on to Blackboard during this week, then you get 100% for your participation. I will say that I have already graded your inclusion part one assignments, and I was beyond impressed with what you came up with. So hopefully you felt like it was a worthwhile assignment, something that really just kind of started making you think about how important it is to have um, not just inclusion in the classroom, but looking at each child's personality, looking at their temperament, looking at goodness of fit, and realizing that we have to treat each child as an individual. So I was so highly impressed with those particular assignments. So I look forward to seeing your next assignment, which is your classroom arrangement. So that assignment is due by the end of this week. And again, however you want to do it is fine. Just make sure that I have both parts to the assignment. Whether or not it's one document, if it's several documents, if there's a picture in there because you scanned a sketch or something. But make sure that I have the layout of your classroom and make sure it's very detailed. This is really something that's supposed to help you in the future, so that if you were to go in for an interview and they were to ask you, well, how would you want to arrange your classroom? Well, you've already had to think about it. And not only have you had to think about it, but you can defend why you had the things, where you had them, or why you had certain things in your classroom. So I need the sketch, and I also need the write-up of at least 5 things that you put purposely in your classroom arrangement that are going to help children with their behavior. So that's due by the end of this week. The only other thing that I wanted to mention was just a reminder about the tasks button that I have on Blackboard for you. I know that when I set up the course schedule, I did not have the due dates on there. But I did create the task button for you just so that you can see everything in one place and when it's due. Once I'm finished grading an assignment, I'm going to take it off of the list just so that you're not confused, because as the semester kind of winds on and it will go so fast, I don't want you to think that you forgot something when in actuality you've already done it. So anytime you have a question about a due date, go to that task button and it will show you exactly when it's due. So I think that that is all that I have for you this week. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'll get back to you very, very quickly so that you're not waiting on a response. And other than that, have a great time reading about some really great guidance, direct guidance strategies that you can use in the classroom. So have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next week.